We are up and running. Good stuff. Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Live Q&A for Friday, November 14th. My name is Lee Hayward, and I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness, and any topics related to your workouts, your nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, anything along those lines that you would like to discuss, any topics of discussion or questions that you may have. Feel free to post those Q&A into our chat window there, whether you're watching this through the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel or over on Facebook. Feel free to type in your questions and or comments in the chat window there, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. So I see some people popping onto our live stream over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. We've got AJ joining in. Welcome, AJ. We've got Lee joining in, saying it is coming through loud and clear. I always appreciate that. Thank you, Lee. Much appreciated. We have Costa Rica saying we are live. How's it going? It's your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward. Sounds like there's a parrot in here. Yes, we are live. Awesome. Good stuff. We've got Robert joining in. Welcome, Robert. Glad to have you joining into the chat as well. I see a lot of regulars popping on board. And if you are a regular to the chat, welcome back. Always nice to have the regulars coming back again. Obviously, we must be doing something right if the people come back for more. But if you're brand new to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat, I want to welcome you. It's always nice to have new people joining in as well. And if this is your first time tuning into a live Q&A, please let me know in the comment section. All right. I will give you top priority if this is your first time attending live and you want to participate and get your questions answered here live while we're doing our live stream today. All right, who else we have here? We have Nathan's joining in. Hey, Nathan, how's it going? Glad to have you joining into the chat today. Awesome. Good stuff. All right, seeing people popping on there. Just give you a moment. So again, as for those of you who are just joining in here right now, welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Q&A. I'm going to be hanging out here answering your questions and topics of discussion related to training, nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, any specific challenges that you're dealing with. Feel free to type those questions, topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. And I also want to let you know that we just launched another episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. If you haven't already done so, I would highly recommend you go check that one out. And this dives into nutrition tracking, which is a big issue, a big topic in the world of fitness and nutrition. And we cover the pros and the cons of nutrition tracking and how you can optimize it based on your situation, your specific goals, and where you are in your fitness journey. Because, I mean, it's not always just a cut and dried answer. Like some people love tracking their nutrition, using the apps like such as MyFitnessPal, and there's a whole bunch of other different apps out there. I mentioned MyFitnessPal because it's probably one of the most popular ones out there, but there's a lot of different nutrition tracking apps. And in fact, we have a new one within our coaching program that we're using, and it's an AI-based app that can take a lot of the manual labor side of tracking out of it for you, and you let the AI do it for you. And it's actually shown to be very promising and very easy, where you can literally like snap a photo of your food and then have AI scan it and give you a pretty good representation of what's in that food. So this is ideal for when you're at situations like maybe you're out to a restaurant, or maybe you're out to dinner somewhere and you're not physically weighing and measuring and tracking the food. Like you could take a photo, and if the AI needs any further clarification, you can literally just talk in your phone and say, explain a bit more about what the food is that you're eating. And it can give you a darn good ballpark estimate of the calories, protein, carbs, fat, everything laid out for you, versus not tracking it at all. Because I know when it comes to nutrition tracking, that's one of the common things is people are either on or off, right? Like I'm tracking everything when everything's going perfect and I'm weighing and measuring and I'm in control of my food. Yeah, I'm tracking it. And then if they have not as much control over the food, like you're eating out in a restaurant or you're having a family dinner, it's like, screw it, I'm not tracking anything. Today is a write-off, right? So that's the on and off side of nutrition tracking. We discuss that in detail in that podcast. And then, of course, we go into some more advanced strategies when it comes to making this work as a sustainable part of your lifestyle. So again, if you haven't already done so, I would highly recommend checking out the most recent episode. It's episode number 47 of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast, and it's up on YouTube, where you can check that out over there. Or if you prefer to listen to it, you can listen to it on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon and most of the major podcast platforms. It's available there as well. Just do a search for Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast, and you should be able to find that and all of our past podcasts there. I mean, we've got a good library of content there. So if you haven't done so already, I would recommend subscribing to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast and going back and reviewing a lot of those, because there's a wealth of information there, and you can certainly help you with reaching your fitness and fat loss goals. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to go check that one out. All right, seeing some more people popping onto our stream here. Got some questions coming through. All right, well, let's jump into it. Let's see who has the first Q&A of the day. Oh, we got Adil joining in. Welcome, Adil. He's joining in from over on Facebook. And he's saying, do you have any tips for improving digestion and absorption of food? I eat clean, but I notice a lot of flatulence from high veg and legume content. You're not alone with that, right? I think we all toot out the bum flute from time to time, especially, whether you're eating good food or bad food, it sometimes happens. Some people more than others, right? I'm going to plead the fifth on that one. Right. Well, actually, I'm not going to plead the fifth. I'm just going to plead guilty. I've been known to toot out the bun flute quite often. Right. So, yeah, flatulence. If it becomes a problem, like, all right, farting can be a problem. Okay. But if it's uncomfortable, like you get gas and bloating to the point where like you get that stomach distress. Right. Sometimes a good fart can relieve a lot of that pressure. It's like, this is much better. All right, I feel good now. But sometimes you get that lingering gas and bloating, which can be quite uncomfortable. If that's the case, what I would recommend now, there's a couple things we can look into. One, it could be some food intolerances. Like if you notice that there's a particular food that every time you eat that food, you end up bloated, gassy, it just doesn't sit well with you. You might want to be a bit more selective about that food, right? And maybe you choose to eat it in moderation, or maybe in some cases eliminate it entirely if it's a certain food that doesn't sit well with you, because this may be a sign of some nutritional intolerances. And sometimes you have to experience this in order to know about it. I'll give you an example. I remember my father developed lactose intolerance later in life. Like he never had any lactose intolerance in his, as a child, in his teens, and even in his middle years. But now in his senior years, in the last maybe 20 years or so, he's developed lactose intolerance. So now he has to take digestive enzymes to help him break down lactose, and that helps a lot. You can utilize that as well. Like if you do have any nutritional intolerances, whether it's lactose or gluten or something along those lines, you can certainly digestive enzymes can help, and there are different enzymes to break down different things. So you can get enzymes to help break down protein. You can get enzymes to help break down carbohydrates and fats and stuff like that. And then of course you can get a good digestive enzyme, which has all the different enzymes to break down the protein, the carbs, and the fats. Right. So if it's specifically related to veg and legumes and things like that, one that is a popular one that's been around for a while, Beano. Right. You've probably seen that in the supplement stores or in the grocery store or the drugstore. That is a digestive enzyme specifically for carbohydrate foods, vegetables and legumes and things like that. But that's something you might want to look into, is digestive enzymes. And a lot of times when it comes to digestive enzymes, sometimes you do get what you pay for. Like sometimes you get digestive enzymes that technically they are digestive enzymes, but they're probably very low dose. So it's not going to make a big difference, where some of the higher end ones may have higher dosages, and you really need to look at the label and see exactly what it is that you're getting there. Right. So that's something you might want to look into. One that I've utilized myself in the past, and I've even recommended it to my father. Bioptimizers is a company that makes digestive enzymes, and they're high potency ones. I'm trying to tell you what, if you can send me a private message over on Facebook, and I'll send you more information about it, because I can't remember the link off the top of my head, but I know that's a good one. I can send you a link if you want to go check that one out. But even if you go to like your regular supplement store, right, wherever you buy your nutritional supplements, or online, places like that, start searching, like even go on Amazon, for example, like start searching digestive enzymes, read the reviews and stuff like that, and hopefully you can find some that will help in this area. But that's something you can certainly look into, and that may help. But you should also be aware of what foods cause the most bloating, gas, tooting out the bum flute, and all that, and maybe be a bit more selective of it, right? So do a little bit of a diet elimination, so to speak. Like try, hey, I notice whenever I eat these particular vegetables or these particular legumes, I fart a lot. Maybe I'll try going a week without eating these and see if I'm still farting a lot. And if you've noticed a difference, right, it might be related to those particular foods, and you might want to swap out other foods that are easy to absorb or easy to digest, that don't cause the gas and the bloating. But yeah, I know I'm making fun of it to a degree, right? But it is a serious issue. I mean, and that can be an uncomfortable one for sure, right? So digestive enzymes might help, or a bit of food elimination there might help as well. Who else we got joining in? Let us see. We've got Eagle Eye John joining us. Hey, how's it going? We've got okay. Got another question here from Costa Rica. Lee, I need help. Hit a 300-pound bench and I'm proud, but I feel like I hit a wall. I want to hit 315 even just once. 5'7", 195. Been lifting for over 20 years, but just turned 33. Any tips? All right, you hit a 300-pound bench and you're proud of that. Well, if that's a personal best, yeah, pat on the back, congratulations, that's awesome. To take it to the next level, I mean, like to add another 15 pounds on top of a max effort bench, it's going to take some time for sure. I mean, obviously you're on your way if you're again assuming that was a good lift and your technique was fine and everything else, but it's not always linear progress. Like it doesn't mean you're always just going to like week after week after week like add that 5 pounds to your lift week after week after week. I mean, sometimes you can go through phases like that, especially when you're new to training. You see that happen sometimes, or you're coming back to training after a layoff, or you're really focusing on a goal and you got your diet and your training and your rest and your recovery and everything dialed in. Sometimes you can make some rapid spurts, but it probably sounds to me like you may have already hit some personal bests. And what very often happens is you might hit a personal best, like in this case, the 300-pound bench, and you may stay there for a while. I mean, you might continue making progress, or you might hit a plateau or even regress. And this is actually quite common, right? Like I can relate to this back in when I was really pushing, like for powerlifting and stuff like that, and / power bodybuilding, because the way I used to do it, like my in-season bodybuilding would be off-season powerlifting, and off-season bodybuilding would be in-season powerlifting. So I was kind of like alternating between the two of them. But I can remember back when I was really pushing for strength training and increasing, the numbers with the big lifts like that, it wasn't always just linear. Like it would go up and then you'd plateau, and then you might like hit a new personal best and then a plateau again, and maybe even dip down, and it'd be like a zigzag line. It wasn't linear. Right. And what I found was often helpful is if I hit a plateau in a certain exercise, let's say we'll just use the bench as an example here. And instead of just beating your head against the wall, like always trying to bench, sometimes I would swap it out and say, you know what? I've milked the bench for what it's worth right now. I'm going to switch to another exercise instead. So I might prioritize dumbbell bench press. And folks, I'm making some strength gains in that. Or I might switch to another variation, like maybe some different chest press machines, like the hammer strength chest press machine. Or I might even work on some other assistant exercises that are similar, but not the actual bench press. So maybe I would do like power rack lockouts, or board presses. I mean, that's a popular exercise in the powerlifting world where you're working on different ranges of motion. So sometimes I would incorporate those type of exercises, even like push-ups and dips and things like that. And I mean, get strong with those. Even sometimes strengthening your overhead press, like your military press and things like that. So you're working assistant exercises that are going to carry over to help with the bench press, but you're not always necessarily doing the bench press. And I find when you do that, it helps to strengthen the weak links, right? And that very often can help you to bust through some plateaus. Another thing you might want to look at is like, where is your particular sticky point in the bench press? Like, where do you find, if you're failing with the lift, where is it? Like, are you struggling to just get the weight off your chest? Are you struggling to lock it out? Where is it? And sometimes you can specialize on exercises to help with that particular area. Like a lot of times people find it hard to lock out the weight. So then really focusing on tricep and lockout work, like partial range of motion lockouts, board presses, and things of that nature to really focus on building up that lockout strength. That can sometimes help. But it's really just being consistent over the long term and doing so in a smart fashion where you're not getting injured, because the bench press is one of those exercises where a lot of guys get injured. Like I know so many people over the years who have blown out rotator cuffs, who've torn pecs, and it usually stems from the bench press. So tread lightly with this one. I mean, be proud of your bench press, but it's one that makes me cringe too when people are always trying to hit a new PR bench press, because it's one of those exercises where, because it is an ego exercise, like how we measure our self-worth by how much we can bench, and we all want to hit that milestone, like the 225 bench, the 315 bench, and then of course some guys are pushing for the 405 bench, like adding another 45, right? They're always trying to hit those milestones. And very often in the journey for that is when you can open up the door to a lot of injuries. So I just want to caution you on that. And if you ever find that you're getting some pain or discomfort, and I don't mean like muscle pain or fatigue, but pain in the joints, tendons, and ligaments, especially around the chest, shoulder area, that's a sensitive one. If you overwork that, you really feel the pain there. Back off, do yourself a little deload and let that area strengthen up, and then work on some assistant exercises to still help improve your overall strength, but not to place yourself in risk of getting injured. Because if you screw up your shoulders or you tear a pec, your 315 bench could be gone like a fart in the wind, right? We don't want that, right? So be patient with it is what I'm saying. Like, don't be like, obviously you still want to push and make progress, but be patient. Like, this is not a goal that's probably going to happen in the matter of, the next week or month or something like that. I mean, this might be a goal that's going to occur over the next year, right? Like it's literally can be open-minded to allow that much time and not be in a hurry. Kind of have this mindset where you want to let your body grow, not force it to grow. And this is how you can stay in the game long term. I mean, like I say, you're only 33, right? You still have a lot of years ahead of you, right? You don't want to be burning out and getting injured. And this is a fine line. Like, this is the time now where, unfortunately, a lot of guys do get injured because you're pushing those limits. And if you push beyond your capabilities and you get injured, that could really set you back big time. Let's see. This actually, we have another question here that kind of correlates to the one we were just talking about, building strength. Is there a drawback to lifting explosively to recruit more fibers and gain strength while still controlling the negative? You can certainly do that, but you have to be in control of the exercise, and it's something you have to develop and build up the skill of strength with that. If you are going to be doing explosive lifting, start off with submaximal weights and get used to lifting at a faster tempo and gradually build it up. And this is something where I would recommend stopping your sets short of failure. So if you're familiar with powerlifting, if you've ever studied like the West Side barbell method of powerlifting, this is where I really got into the dynamic effort, where you're using more fast, explosive lifting technique, especially for like squat, bench, if you are going to do it, you would do it with submaximal weights and stopping your set short of failure. So I would not recommend like grinding it out to failure like a typical bodybuilding workout. I would recommend doing multiple sets of low reps and leaving reps in reserve, leaving a lot of reps in reserve actually. And the idea here is you take a submaximal weight, but you apply maximal force to it. So to kind of put it in perspective, like let's just say someone can bench press 300 pounds. You would probably take, I don't know, maybe 185 pounds, but you would apply 300 pounds of force to that 185-pound barbell. So it's powering, like it's the speed and the explosiveness. Like you're just smoking that weight. Like there's no effort whatsoever. I mean, there's effort, but I mean, it's flying off your chest in a fast, explosive way. So you can take a sub-maximal weight and apply maximal force. So you're getting that strength velocity, right? That's how you would incorporate the explosive lifting. And that can really help to spur on some new growth and some new strength gains in that fashion, right? Taking sub-maximal weights and putting maximum effort into it. And you see this a lot like in sports like Olympic lifting. Like the guys are very fast, very powerful, very explosive, but they build up to it, right? And very often in the sport of like powerlifting, weightlifting, and things like that, they're not repping out to failure. I actually did an article and I sent out an email about this and I posted it up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel in the post section. And I also posted on Facebook about the whole idea of training to failure. And training to failure, where you take a weight and rep it to failure, is actually, I mean, it can stimulate muscle growth. Don't get me wrong, it still works, but it also increases the risk of injury dramatically. Whereas if you stop your set short of failure, it allows you to train, still push yourself hard, but you're keeping it below red line where you're not risking that injury. And this is where we got to be careful of is injury prevention. Because yeah, I mean, anybody can go out and train hard and push themselves and grind themselves to a pulp. But if you get injured, that's it. Like that's putting the brakes on all progress. And it's not just putting the brakes on it, that's setting you back because now you have to recover from that injury. And depending on the degree of the injury, that could set you back weeks, months, or in some cases, you may never fully recover from it. I mean, it might be a long-term injury that haunts you, especially if it's like a muscle or tendon tear, right? So you want to be very careful with this. So there is a benefit to it, but tread lightly because if you get injured, that's the thing that's going to set you back more than anything, right? I mean, there is a time and a place for all these different methods, and it really depends on the individual. Like I'm kind of just giving some broad pictures perspective here. Now, in Adil's case, I know he's been around the iron game for years. Like, so he's more of an advanced lifter, and he could certainly incorporate this. But you know, for people who are like within their first year or so of lifting, I wouldn't worry about trying to get to explosive lifting yet. Like this is something you want to build up to over time. All right, where else are we to now? Let's see. Speaking of injuries, Lee, did you go through deep depression when you tore your lat? I'm dealing with an Achilles injury, and I hope I don't require surgery. It sucks. I don't know. I wouldn't say deep depression, but I was certainly pissed off. Right? I mean, I wasn't like, oh, I'm clinically depressed or anything like that, but I was certainly in a slump. Like, I mean, because I was making good progress at the time. Like, this was back in 2008. And just prior to that, like a few months prior to that, I had won the provincial title at our bodybuilding competition. So I was coming off, you know, my best performance ever in bodybuilding. I was at my biggest and strongest, you know, like as terms of strength and muscle mass and everything else. Like I was, you know, at my bodybuilding best, if you will. And it was in the off season, and I was pushing myself. I was doing, you know, heavy power training, and I pushed beyond my limits, kind of like what I'm warning you not to do here. Right? I had to learn this lesson the hard way, and I ended up tearing a muscle in my back. Now, it wasn't actually the lat muscle, but it was like a muscle in the lat tie-in area, but it was right up under the armpit area. That's where the whole muscle tear took place. And yeah, I mean, that when that happened, like I was like on a roll, like I was right up here at personal best, just won a show. I was, in the biggest, strongest I've ever been, and then it all came crumbling back down. And it took me over a year to get back to doing like normal workouts again. Like I remember after that injury going into the gym and like literally doing exercises with like the empty handles on the machine, like the hammer strength plate loaded machines at the gym. I would be going through the motions with the empty handles, just kind of like moving, just trying to create movement in the body parts. Like I would be doing a chest press or a row or something with the empty handles, or maybe with a 5 pound plate on each side. And then once that felt okay, then I gradually add another 2.5 pound plates. But I was just baby weighting it for like a year. I mean, when I'd lift dumbbells, I would be down at the end of the dumbbell rack, grabbing the 5 pound dumbbells and just doing exercises with them, just focusing on the movement, just to try to get blood flow and circulation and to stretch and work those areas, that the injury, without creating damage. Right. So I would literally just movement. That's all I was trying for: blood flow, circulation, and just moving that area and build it up slowly, slowly, slowly. But it took me a year of doing those baby workouts till the point where I got up to doing, I guess, normal workouts again. Now, it still wasn't personal best by any stretch, but back to where I could go into the gym and say, okay, that was a good workout. Like it took me a year to get back to that point. So again, that's why I'm such an advocate of injury prevention, because I know the setbacks that it can cause. Right. And if I had been a bit wiser, if I could go back in time and have a conversation with that, you know, Lee back in 2008 and say, hey, buddy, keep it below red line, right? Don't try to be a freaking hero here. I probably would have saved myself a lot of heartache and made better progress over the long term. But sometimes you have to learn lessons the hard way for them to sink in. As far as the Achilles injury you have, I mean, I don't know what degree it is, but if it's just a strain or muscle tear or something like that, it might heal back on its own. But if you have some serious ligament damage, it may require surgery, and that's a brutal injury to recover from as well. Like I know some people who have torn their Achilles tendon and had to get it surgically repaired and go through the whole rehab process, and that's a long road to recovery there as well, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't envy anybody who's going through serious injury rehab like that. It certainly does. It sucks. But one thing that you can do is focus on working around that injury. So obviously a lot of lower body things are probably going to be off the table. Cardio is probably going to be very minimal, except maybe you can do some gentle low intensity stuff. Again, I don't know the degree of your injury, but you might be able to do some like light stationary bike or something like that, just to keep some movement going there. But anything that requires impact, like running or anything like that, that's certainly off the table. But you should be able to still do some upper body lifts, especially if you're seated and not having to use your legs for support, right? So machine exercises and things where you're seated, you should be able to work around that. But yeah, it's a big one. Obviously, I mean, you're the same guy who did the 300-pound bench. So, I mean, obviously it hasn't impacted your bench press at all. So that's a good sign, you know. But yeah, I mean, it does. It takes the wind out of your sails when you get injured. Absolutely, right? That's why, again, I'm such an advocate of injury prevention, because you know I would much rather be stuck in a plateau or make slow progress than have a major setback with an injury, right? Like as far as your training progression goes, like injury is one of the lowest things that can happen, right? For sure. Who else we got joining in there? John is saying, can resistance band build? I don't know if you want to elaborate on that. If the question got cut off or what, but can resistance band build? I mean, you can certainly build muscle, stimulate the muscle with resistance bands. Is it as good as having a fully equipped gym with free weights and machines and all that? No, but they do have their place. right? I mean, I use resistance bands. I have them. I mean, when I'm traveling, I use resistance bands. Sometimes if I want to just get in a quick home workout, I might use resistance bands, but it's it's a nice to have, but it's not going to substitute, a proper gym setup. Now, again, it depends on where you are in your fitness journey. For someone who's brand new, just getting started, yeah, resistance bands could be great. Like a lot of times when I've been coaching people who are like intimidated about joining the gym, they say, I just want to start off with something at home. I say, great, we can do some body weight and resistance band exercises, right? We can do that to kind of lay a foundation, get you started on the right track, but it's quickly going to level off, right? Like very few people are just going to stick with resistance band workouts and continue to make progress year after year after year. Like it's going to run its course to the point where you're either going to want to elaborate and get a proper home gym set up, or you're going to want to just join a public gym and take advantage of the equipment they have there. But you can still make progress with it. I mean, like something's better than nothing, right? And the thing that I love resistance bands for is, especially if you're traveling, they're so small and compact and lightweight. I mean, you can pack them in like a suitcase or in a backpack or anything. Like when we went camping this summer, I took my resistance bands with me. I'd wrap them around like a picnic table or wrap them around tree branches, and I could do resistance band exercises. So when I never had access to the gym, okay, I'm not totally neglecting training. I can still do some body weight and resistance band work, but it's kind of like to bridge the gap until I can get back to a properly structured program again. Let's see what else. Another question coming through here. Do you think weighted pull-ups make you a beast? My favorite upper body exercise, as well as incline bench. Great stretch. Pull-ups are a fantastic exercise, and I would focus on mastering your body weight before ever adding weight, right? Because again, going back to our talking about injury, you can injure yourself and do some damage if you over pull or overstretch with pull-ups. I've done that before. Like I've done weighted pull-ups and I've actually re-aggravated some injuries. Like that injury that I had before, the one I was telling you where the muscle tie-ins in my from 2008. Like it wasn't the lat muscle, but it was like a lot of those muscles that connect the lats and the tricep. Like it was right in that whole tie-in area. Like I literally have a gap in my right armpit from where that muscle tear was. Like it's never ever filled in. And I remember doing some pull-ups a few years back, and I re-aggravated that injury, right, by trying to go too hard with pull-ups. So it's a great exercise, but again, lift within your means and be cautious with it because you don't want to get hurt. But you can make incredible progress with just body weight. And I'm just going to share a story from one of my coaching students, Jeff Samatero. He loves pull-ups. Like that's one of his favorite exercises. And he built himself up to doing 20 pull-ups, which is very respectable. I mean, like, heck, most people can't do a single pull-up, but he built himself up to doing, 20 pull-ups in a row. And he joined a calisthenics gym because he wanted to, get better at body weight and calisthenic exercises. So he joined a calisthenics gym, and he actually hired a coach who was a calisthenics coach. And they really focused on like a lot of gymnastic type moves. So they had like the Olympic rings and things like that. And when he was having his initial consultation with the coach, he was asking him like, about his workouts and stuff like that. And Jeff proudly told him, well, I can do 20 pull-ups. He said, oh, okay, you can do 20 pull-ups. Great. That's really impressive. So let's try it out. So they went into the gym and he was banged out his pull-ups. And, I said, okay, well, that's really good. How about we slow it down a bit and really focus on like mastering the technique and not just swinging your weight up and using like momentum and explosiveness, but we really focus on slowing down the tempo, keeping your body, rigid, and really focus on like muscling your body up, not just heaving and jerking yourself up over the bar. And he went from doing like 20 plus pull-ups to not even being able to do 10 in a strict form, right? So it was a big it was a kick to his ego, if you will, but by training with proper form and getting the coaching, he was able to take his physique to a whole nother level. And since then, like, he's been able to master a lot of advanced body weight exercises like handstand push-ups, muscle ups on Olympic rings, and things like that, where like he couldn't do that before, but after really dialing in his technique and just using body weight, not adding extra weight to this, just focusing on mastering his body weight, he was able to do a lot of these more advanced exercises and not only do them, but do so injury free. So I just wanted to share that because you can make a lot of progress without the weighted side by just doing body weight pull-ups. And that could certainly make you a fitness beast, if you will, right? I mean, like anybody who can do strict muscle ups and strict pull-ups and handstand push-ups and like all those type of body weight exercise, if you can do that with strict form with just body weight, that is freaking impressive, right? You know, now, I mean, sure, there's a time and a place for adding extra weight, but you you can make a lot of progress with just body weight alone before you ever need to get to that point. All right, what else we got there? We have Danny joining in saying, sometimes I switch my rep ranges each workout. For instance, I might do 3 to 5 one day, 8 to 10 the next. Should I keep switching it up or stick to one range for a few weeks? Both can work, right? The most important thing, if we're going in order of priority, consistency. As long as you're showing up consistent, you're going to be able to make progress. As far as the different rep ranges, I would probably stick to a particular program or particular range in this case for a period of time and really strive to make some good progress in that rep range. And then when you do hit a plateau, like let's just say we're going to be doing 8 to 10 reps, that's your range. Stick to that for until it plateaus for you, until you're fine, like you're stuck, you're just not be able to make consistent progress in that 8 to 10 rep range. And then what you could do is drop the reps back down and then try and make some progress in that lower rep range, and then maybe you even eventually build that lower rep range up. So this is something that I do with my coaching students, like when I'm working with people one-on-one in the gym, especially people who are more advanced. Like, let's just say we're normally doing sets of 10 reps for an exercise, and they're at a point where they're just kind of like beating their head against the wall. Like, I'm not able to make any progress now at this 10 rep range. I say, okay, let's drop the reps back down to say 5 reps. Let's increase the weight a little bit. And let's just do multiple sets of 5 reps with a heavier weight. So you're conditioning your body to handle a heavier workload, heavier weight, but you're doing so with less reps. Now, that may actually feel easier, to do sets of 5 with a heavier weight versus sets of 10 with a lighter weight, right? Because it's less time under tension. There's less fatigue being accumulated there. So it might actually be easier in the short term. But then what we very often do is like, okay, let's try and take that set of 5 with a heavier weight. Let's build it up, see if we can get 6 reps. Okay, that goes good. Let's build up, see if we can get 7, and eventually build that up to a set of 10. And then that'd be our new 10 rep weight. And then sometimes we'll repeat that cycle. So it's like you build yourself up and then you drop the reps back down, increase the weight, and build yourself back up. So you're working within a range. So there's a lot of different strategies you can incorporate to, encourage your body to continue to make progress and to stimulate that, the whole progressive overload. So what you're doing, I mean, it sounds like it could be a great strategy, but you might want to put some structure to it, like I just explained there, versus just haphazardly, like, oh, I'm going to do 10 reps today, and oh, I'm going to do 3 reps the next day, and I'm going to do, somewhere in the middle the following day. I would probably have a bit of a structured plan in place. And the goal is to just continually build up on that. And you can even have like different records for all the different rep ranges. Like, so, hey, I did a shoulder press for 100 pounds for 10 reps. And then, I did a shoulder press with 120 pounds for 5 reps. And, you could have like records on all these different rep ranges. So each time you're in the gym, like you can strive to better what you did by having those different numbers to go by, right? So you could have some structure to it and continually make progress within those exercises using those different rep ranges. Who else we got? We have Robert joining in. Should I vary my intensity? I'm doing a 5 by 5, 3 days a week workout routine. Yes, you can certainly vary your intensity. And how I like to go about it is I'm very in the moment with my training. So if I'm feeling strong, I'm high energy, I'm well recovered, I had a good night's sleep, I'm well fed, like I'm going in there like, man, I'm ready to crush today's workout, then I'll probably do a higher intensity workout. I will push myself harder and generate more intensity. On those days where I'm like, I didn't sleep well the night before, or I just feeling a bit tired, or I didn't fully recover from my previous session or whatever, had a stressful day at work, or just not feeling 100%, I'm going to do a lower intensity session. I'm probably not going to blow it off and not train at all, but I'll just give myself permission to do a lower intensity workout. So your intensity, you can vary it based on how you feel. And for most people, I would recommend doing that, like being in the moment and evaluate how you're feeling that day. And this is something that I do with my coaching students, like especially the people that I'm working with one on one in the gym. Like the first question I ask every time we meet up for a workout, like, how are you feeling? How was your day? Like, are you tired? Are you feeling strong? Are you feeling exhausted? Like, where are we on the energy spectrum? And I will adjust the workouts and even the exercise selection accordingly. Like if someone says, "Oh man, I'm feeling good," right? I had a ate well, rested well, like I'm feeling good today. All right, we're going to push it. If someone says, "Man, I had a hard day at work, had to work overtime, and I didn't get as much sleep, and I had a late lunch, so I didn't eat as well as I should have today," blah blah blah. I say, okay, well maybe we're going to have to take that into consideration and maybe dial it back a little bit, right? Because if you're not feeling 100%, you're probably not going to lift at your personal best, right? So you can adjust that in the moment, right? And that's a good way to go about it from a practical point of view. I mean, I know when you're people are trying to program workouts, like on paper, it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to have this perfectly planned program with progression and all this kind of stuff, but real life very rarely lines up with what you have planned on paper. So I would much rather adjust things based on real life circumstances and how you're feeling in the moment versus trying to stick to a pre-planned program on paper where like, oh, I have to go up in intensity or go up in weight, every single week or blah blah blah, because it may not work out like that, from a practical point of view. But you can always adjust it based on how you're feeling in the moment. And that's what I do myself. Like I adjust it in real time. Let's see. Another one. Oops, I missed one there. For cardio machines in the gym, would you recommend the Stairmaster? I find it's the most challenging, also burns the most calories. Again, this goes back to the previous question. I can kind of piggyback the one there where we were talking about the intensity. The Stairmaster is high intensity cardio. It's one of the most demanding cardio machines at the gym. And yes, it burns a lot of calories. Yes, it's going to get your heart rate elevated. But if you're feeling tired and exhausted, you probably don't want to do the Stairmaster. Maybe you'd want to do like the elliptical, or maybe walk on the treadmill, or a stationary bike, or something that's a bit lower intensity. But if you're feeling good and you want to push it, Stairmaster is a great one to push it. And the thing that I like about the Stairmaster is it's low impact, even though it's high intensity. So it's not going to be hard on the joints. Like running, for example, there's a lot of impact, a lot of jarring on the joints. Stairmaster, there's very little jarring on the joints because you always have one foot on the stairs as you're climbing, but where you're climbing, like literally at a 45-degree angle, it's a lot of intensity. So you can certainly get a lot of muscle activation, a lot of you're stimulating your cardiovascular system, burn a lot of calories. But again, that could be good, that could be bad. On the days when you're feeling lots of energy and you want to push it, that's good, right? Go for it. On the days where you're like, man, I'm tired, I don't have it in me to push it hard today, I'm just going to do an easy cardio session. Then give yourself permission to do an easier one. Right? So I do recommend it. I do use it myself, but I don't use it all the time. I use it on those days when I want to push it. We have another one here. Oops, I missed that one again. Questions popping through here, guys. Where was that? That was the cardio machine question again. We've got Melky saying, thank you, Lee. Appreciate all your time and passion. And you know what? Thank you for sharing that, because this is a passion of mine. I do enjoy what I do here, these live Q&A. I look forward to them every Friday. So again, I'm glad you appreciate it as well. All right. And what else we got there? Oh, we also have another one. Oh, thank you so much for the support from someone else. All right. Well, thank you. And I'm glad that you appreciate it. Again, thumbs up to you. All right. Much appreciated. And he says, smash the like button if you haven't already. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much. And if you are tuning in and you're getting some value from these Q&A, please thumbs up, subscribe to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding channel if you haven't already done so. Right? You can certainly like the video. All right. Who else we got there? We've got Art joining in. Welcome, Art. Glad to have you joining into our Q&A today. All right. And Mr. Someone Else, I don't know if you have a question or not, but if you do, feel free to ask, right? All right, where are we, guys? Getting back to my, I lost my spot in the queue of our questions and comments coming through here. Just a second, I'll find my place again and continue on. We have, all right. Not too many can do a 315 pound, if I'm not mistaken. Absolutely not. I mean, like a 315 pound bench press is rare, even in the gym, right? Like you are definitely amongst the strongest in the gym if you're bench pressing over 300 pounds. Heck, even if you're squatting over 300 pounds, squatting with good form, that is. Like sometimes you'll see people do like quarter squats with 300 pounds or whatever. But if you're doing a proper parallel squat or deeper with over 300 pounds, that's impressive. Right? Again, not many people can do that in a typical gym. Now, of course, if you go to an advanced powerlifting gym or like a bodybuilding gym or something like that, okay, that's different, right? But in your average local gym, right, whatever, your Anytime Fitness, your Planet Fitness, your whatever, very few people are lifting those kind of numbers, right? It's only if you're getting into a serious a serious gym where you're going to see people doing those kind of numbers on a regular basis. But yeah, percentage wise, it's really freaking low, the number of people who could bench that much. All right, who else we got joining in? We've got Tim joining in. Happy Friday to you. And Tim, if it's okay, my friend, I'd like to give a shout out. Tim shared something over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group today, and it's very freaking impressive. I'm just going to bring that up. He's been on a fat loss journey for over 500 days now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to bring up his post there now and share it. Where is it to? Where is it to? I know you posted it to the group. Where? I'm trying to find it, Tim. I'm over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group now, trying to find that. Where was it? All right, here, view the post. Okay, just give me a second. All right, I'm going to share my screen here because this is worth the shout out, and I'm sure Tim won't mind. I mean, heck, you shared it to the group. I'm sure we can share it here as well. Share. Okay. So this should be coming through. I'm going to make that a wee bit bigger if I can, and I'm just going to pop away your comment there. So Tim shared this over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group, said that he's been doing a fat loss program or prioritizing fat loss for 550 days and finally reached the point where, he has goals worth sharing here. So I want to get to the whole picture. So here's Tim's before and here's Tim's after. I mean, just look at that. That is freaking impressive, right? I just want to show that. I mean, like pictures speak louder than words here. So 550 days ago, right? So we're talking like, less than a year and a half ago ish, right? This is what Tim's looking like. This is what Tim's looking like now. I mean, like, hats off to you, my friend. Like that just shows the consistency, the hard work, the determination has been compounding over the last 550 days. I mean, what a transformation. You should be proud of yourself. And I'm I'm super excited for you, and I just wanted to share that because that is downright impressive. So, I mean, he's lost body fat, gained lean muscle, totally achieved a body recomposition there. So, again, my friend, kudos to you for doing that, and thanks for joining in, and thanks for sharing that over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group. Right, it's nice to have that, people sharing their wins because it helps to give hope and inspiration to others, right? Especially when you consider and how far you've came. Because if somebody looked at that before picture, I don't think anybody'd say, "Oh, you're so lucky." I mean, look how you're genetically gifted. It's easy for you. I mean, look how awesome your physique is. No, they say, "Man, you're looking pretty doughy there, bud." Like they say, like he's just an average dude. Like there's nothing to. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory fashion or nothing like that. I'm just saying like you're looking like an average guy there. But when you see this, I mean, people be like, "Holy shit, man! You're shredded. You're looking awesome. You're lean. You're jacked. Like, what the hell you're doing?" Right. So it just goes to show if you're willing to put in the work and follow a proven system, trust the process and refuse to quit. That's what's possible. So again, man, kudos to you. All right. So let's see what else we got there. Um, Josh says, "How do you see AI changing fitness in the next 5 to 10 years?" That's a loaded question. It's changing everything. And I don't know how fast it's going to change, but it is changing everything. And I try to be optimistic. Like I think it's for the most part, it's changing things for the better. But when you start talking to some experts and that, and there's some potential downsides to AI as well, for sure. Like one thing that eh, is a little pet peeve of mine is it's like sometimes you don't know what's real or what's not anymore. Like, because AI is getting that good, right? Like you don't know what, but how it can help is it can really streamline a lot of things, right? Like that's one thing. Like for example, I mentioned we're currently utilizing an AI based nutrition tracking software. So one of the problems people have with nutrition tracking is it's tedious. Oh, I find it hard to factor in everything. Whereas if I just have AI where I can just tell my phone, "Hey, I ate this for dinner," and it can calculate it out for me automatically, or I can take a photo of my food and it can scan it and then calculate out the calories, protein, carbs, fat, and everything else, and give you a reasonably good estimate of it just based on a photo or just based on you telling it what you ate. That's pretty darn cool, right? Like it eliminates a lot of the tedious hassle of nutrition tracking. And I mean, that's just scratching the surface. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, quite honestly, like if you wanted a workout program now, I mean, you could get AI, like, to create one for you. And for the most part, they're pretty good. The only thing that AI can't do is it can't humanize it. So like it can give you what's technically right, but sometimes what's technically right doesn't always pan out in the real world. Like you could literally be doing the right thing sometimes, and it doesn't, like you could hit a plateau, and sometimes you need to change things around, and the body doesn't always respond the way you would expect. Like I'll give you a prime example. Like one of my coaching students, Mike Brown. I want to share this story. Mike has shared this before, and we even did it in a podcast, talked about it. He had uh, hit the point where he was as lean as he wanted to get. Like he got himself down really lean. I'm talking like single digit body fat percentage. I'll just see if I can draw up a picture here, Mike, to help bring a visual to this for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about. Uh, where is he to? I'll see if I can find a picture of Mike here. I'm just going to just give me a second now. Finding stuff on the fly here is not always the fastest. All right, here we go. Just a second. I'm just going to bring this up. I'm just give me a second. Share the screen. Share screen. Right here. So this is Mike. Hopefully that's popping through on your end. Yeah, it is. Okay. Now, Mike achieved this transformation. So in his case, like he got himself as lean as he wanted to get, right? Like he got visible abdominal definition, lean, muscular. And now he's at the stage where he wants to achieve like a lean body recomposition. So he wants to focus on filling out his frame with more muscle while still staying lean. So he's gone through the whole Muscle After 40 blueprint program. And we got to the phase where like, okay, we don't need to get any leaner. I mean, you're already like super lean. I mean, like visible six-pack abs, like you're ripped, you know. So we want to focus on just gaining lean muscular body weight. And we actually increased his meal. So like at the time he was eating 4 meals a day. We added an extra meal, bumped up his calories, bumped up his protein, like just thought, okay, this is going to help to fill out your frame with lean muscle. And what ended up happening? He actually lost weight by adding in an extra meal, because what ended up happening is it sped up his metabolism. And when he was burning more, I mean, he was able to train harder, and just to create a faster metabolism, being able to train harder, he actually revved everything up. So, like, the body is not like a combustion engine. And what I mean by that is, like, it doesn't burn X amount of fuel based on the size of the engine. When you're eating, it creates so many metabolic and hormonal factors. Like sometimes you can slash your calories, and you probably heard this, where people go into what's called survival mode, where you actually slow your metabolism down because you're not eating enough. Well, in Mike's case, it was the complete opposite. He was eating and then he ate more, and it actually sped his metabolism up. So he went through a phase where he actually ate more and lost weight. Now, a lot of times AI and things like that probably wouldn't pick up on that, because they're just using like standard calculations, like calories in, calories out. Okay, you eat more, you gain; you eat less, you lose. Generally, you do, but there's always exceptions, right? Like, so when you're getting into the real world results, as I got there on the screen there, sometimes AI can't pick that up, whereas people who have real world experience and has gone through this, that's where I think, still having that humanized approach can help. But AI is a powerful tool that's certainly going to be changing the way we do a lot of things. I mean, it is now. And just out of curiosity, for those of you who are tuning in right now, who uses AI on a regular basis, whether it's like Chat GPT or other forms of AI? Like, if you use AI in like your day-to-day work, or for whatever, just let me know. Like, I use it. I use AI to help me with stuff, right? And I find it helps to make things more efficient, but you still have to have that human touch in there, right? But I'm just curious to know. And as far as like, where do I see it going in the next 5 to 10 years? Honestly, man, I don't know, because it's changing so fast. I mean, I'm hoping it's going to be good, but it could be scary to see where this is going. But again, I'm just curious to know, like, how many of you who are watching this right now are using it on a regular basis. Another question here. Do you have any tips on breathing during a set? Yes, I do. And rather than going into a whole lot of detail about it, I have a video that I want to share with you, where I explain the 3 types of breathing, because how you breathe depends on the exercise you're doing, the intensity of that exercise, and the number of reps you're doing. All right. So there's a time and a place for all of those. And I have a video. I'm just going to find it. If I do a search for Lee Hayward. Okay. It's called 3 breathing techniques to use when lifting weights. So if you just do a search for Lee Hayward, 3 breathing techniques to use when lifting weights, you'll find it. I'm just going to copy and paste the link right into our chat window there. So, and I'm just going to call it breathing techniques for lifting weights. You'll know what I'm talking about. So boom, I just copied the link there. I would recommend checking out that video, because I explain it in more detail and actually give you some real world examples of when you would apply all 3 of those breathing techniques. But the general rule of thumb, don't hold your breath. All right. And what I mean by that is, for most people, right? There actually is a time and a place. One of the techniques does involve holding your breath, but it's only temporary. But for most people, like when I'm coaching people brand new, I don't want them to overcomplicate it, but for new people in the gym, the main thing is you just don't hold your breath, like keep the air flowing. And the general rule of thumb is to breathe out as you lift, breathe in as you lower. Breathe out. So as you exert, as you lower. That's the general rule of thumb, but there's two other strategies that are kind of, one is on the extreme high intensity side, one's on the more of the higher volume, lower intensity side, where you can actually reverse that around. Right. And that video that I shared with you goes into more details about those. But for most people, you will find your own sweet spot for breathing. Like, breathing is one of those things. I mean, yes, you can try and purposefully breathe, but your body does it automatically. Like, you're breathing right now without having to think about it. Like, your body is going to do that automatically. Like, it's going to breathe. Your heart's going to pump. Like, these functions within your body are going to happen automatically. So sometimes you don't need to overthink it. Like, you can just like kind of let nature take its course. But there are a few situations where you can consciously optimize it, and that's what I cover within that video that I just posted there. Right. But you really don't need to overthink it for the most part, right? Until you get to the more advanced levels, and then some of these might give you a marginal edge with your training performance. We got Lander joining in. He says, if I do quick sets, lower weight, higher reps, I feel like I get a good cardio, almost like jogging. Is lifting cardio equal to jogging? It's still, you do get cardiovascular benefits from lifting weights. Absolutely. Is it the same as long duration cardio? I mean, I know you're using jogging as an example, but long duration cardio could be jogging, could be cycling, could be swimming, could be, using the cardio machines at the gym. No, it's not the same. Weightlifting is more in the muscular endurance, uh, higher intensity cardio, if you will. It's not the same because there's different levels of intensity within cardio, right? Like, you have your flat out sprint, which is going to be something like 30 seconds or less. Then you have, like, in the VO2 max range, which is, within the matter of minutes before you reach exhaustion. Then you have like the tempo sweet spot, which is something that you can sustain for maybe a 20-minute duration. And then you're getting down into the zone 2 cardio, which is something that you can sustain even longer, all the way down to the zone 1 cardio, which would be something like a stroll on the beach, where you're moving but it's not effort. Right? And there's all these different ranges, and within cardio, like, if you go down the rabbit hole with cardio, there's all these different intensity ranges and stuff. So it's not a carryover. Like, you can't say, well, I don't need to do cardio because I lift weights. Okay, yes, that helps. You're still working your cardiovascular system, but it's not going to optimize it. It's almost like me saying, well, hey, I ride my bike, so I don't need to do any leg workouts in the gym, right? I'm working my legs on the bike. I ride the bike, my legs are spinning. That's good enough, right? Or, yes, it helps. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're still going to build strength and develop the muscles. But if your goal is to maximize your muscle development in your legs, you're going to need more than just riding a bike or doing cardio. You're going to actually need to have some structured weight training. Same applies when you flip the switch and we're looking at cardio, right? Yes, you're going to get some cardio benefits from weight training, and it's better than nothing, absolutely. But if you want to maximize your cardio benefits, you just can't rely on weight training alone. You actually need to train for those different styles of cardio, right? All the different intensity ranges and stuff to maximize it, right? And this really comes down to personal preference and what it is you're training for, because you don't have to maximize everything, right? Like, you can be good enough in certain areas. And I mean, based on your goals and your outcome, that might be okay. Like, for example, if we're looking at an endurance athlete, like, do they need to be doing hardcore bodybuilding and powerlifting and stuff like that? No, but supplementing their workouts with strength training can certainly help, but they don't need to maximize it. Same thing if we flip the switch and looking at someone who's primarily focused on bodybuilding and powerlifting. Supplementing in some cardio can certainly help, but do they need to maximize it? Like, do they need to be able to run a marathon as well? No, right? So there's different ranges with fitness in all areas, from cardio to strength training, and you got to really find like what is it that you're trying to achieve, and find the ideal balance. And this is where having a coach work with you and can help you to customize things can help, because there is a lot of information overload. And if you go down, start studying cardio and the different training methods that are related to cardio and endurance training, you can get information overload down that rabbit hole. Vice versa, you can go down the strength training, bodybuilding, hypertrophy route, and you can get information overload down there. And when you're trying to then combine them together, it just even muddies the water even more. So this is where having, like the big picture perspective and someone with experience in both areas to find out, okay, what is your main goal? What is it you're trying to achieve here? Right. And let's design your program around that, not necessarily trying to do everything at once, because you can't do everything at once. Like, you're never going to have someone who's uh, like a world-class endurance athlete and a world-class bodybuilder and a world-class powerlifter. Like, it ain't going to happen. There's no such, specimen that exists, right? But you can have people who are maybe have their priorities, then they supplement the other areas there, so they still have well-rounded fitness, but they probably have their preference. Or, like, prime example, like, you look at a bodybuilder, they still do cardio, but this primarily is a tool to help them burn body fat and just to improve heart health. But they're not looking to run a marathon, right? Or compete in a cycling race or something like that, right? So, and then vice versa, you'll have a marathon runner or an endurance athlete, like a cyclist or triathlon. They're still going to do strength training, but they're not looking to step on a bodybuilding stage, right? So there's different areas that we can focus on, right? But to simplify your question there, is it equal? No, it's not equal, right? There's some significant differences there. I know it's a long-winded answer to probably a simple question, because I could just answer it in a simple yes or no, but I want to give some context versus just throwing out yes, no, and then move on. Right? Because that doesn't really help anybody if you just throw out these little one-liners and then move on. Let's see what else we got. So I came here from Teddy King's Live 2025. Appreciate everything you do. My only question would be, what is your best advice for longevity? Whew, that's a loaded one for sure. I mean, all right. So for those of you who are not familiar with who Teddy King is, myself, his real name is Mark King. We did a podcast together a while back, and Mark is on an extreme weight loss journey. So Mark peaked out at his heaviest 886 pounds. That's not a mispronunciation. You hear that right. 886 pounds. He was absolutely massive and knocking on death's door at that weight, right? Like, that's that's extreme. That's bigger than big. And since then, he's been on an extreme weight loss journey. He's lost over 400 pounds. I don't know his exact weight now, but he's somewhere in the 400-pound range. So, like, that is remarkable, but he's still extremely overweight. Like, anybody who's 400 plus pounds, I mean, that's still morbidly obese, but it's less than half of morbidly extreme obese that he was at his heaviest at over 800 pounds. But we did a podcast together, and if you haven't checked it out, I would highly recommend it, because it's just fascinating to you know to see what goes on in the day of a life of someone who's going through that and who's struggling with obesity at that extreme level. Right. So, I mean, I have a lot of respect for what Mark is doing and how he's taken charge of his life and trying to get back to a healthy weight again. And as far as the whole longevity side of things, I mean, there's so much we could unpack with that. First one would be the obvious ones, right? Uh, Diet and exercise. I mean, that goes without saying, but other things too. Like, we got to look at, you know, just think of people in your personal life who struggle the most with health issues. Like a lot of times they're probably consuming alcohol and consuming it in excess. They're probably smoking and consuming that in excess. They're probably not exercising. They're probably not really focusing on their nutrition. So, like all those big ones, like avoiding alcohol, avoiding smoking, right? Getting in regular exercise, eating natural unprocessed foods. Like those are the big ones right there. I mean, if you just did that alone, no alcohol, no smoke, exercised regularly, and ate natural unprocessed foods, that would put you leaps and bounds ahead of the average person. Like it's not rocket science. Like you, everyone knows what to do. Like when I say this, like nobody said, "Wow, that's earth shattering," right? No, like everybody said, "Yeah, I already knew that," but are you applying that? Right? Are you applying it? And a lot of times people are not. They're like, "Yeah, I know I shouldn't do this, but I do it anyway." Well, we need to try and move in the right direction to at least making progress in those areas. Right? I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but better than it was before. Right? That's the key there from a longevity point of view. And then another thing that's a big one as well, staying on top of medical checkups, like early warning sign, early detection of things. So, like if there is a sign of any ailments or issues, like high blood pressure, like how many people are checking their blood pressure on a regular basis? Right? Very few until they get to the point where they go to a doctor for a checkup or they have to go to the hospital for something. And then when they're in the triage clinic, they get, they always check your blood pressure and stuff. And they're like, oh, like, do you realize like your blood pressure is like 170 over, whatever, 170 over 130 or something like, or what, over 170 over 100. Right? Some people have these, massive high blood pressure, but they didn't know it. They call blood pressure like the silent killer, right? Because that could be lurking under the radar, and there's no real symptoms to it. Like it's not something that you feel. So keeping tabs on that and early detection is another huge thing from a longevity point of view. So regular physical checkups, regular screenings with your doctor, just to make sure if there is any issues, hopefully you can get a head start on correcting that before the damage gets to the point where it's irreversible, right? I mean, that would probably be my best advice there from a longevity point of view. Like doing the best you can in terms of your own lifestyle habits, in terms of nutrition, exercise, avoiding the obvious things that are going to cause harm, and then staying on top of medical checkups. If people did that, that would be the big rocks in the jar. That would move people in the right direction towards maximizing health and longevity for sure. And the crazy thing is, everybody's heard this before, everybody knows this, but very few people actually put it into practice. That's the crazy thing. All right, what else? Because of you, I've gained 18 pounds of muscle and never been healthier. Wow, I mean, that's impressive, right? Kudos to you. I mean, much respect, right? Obviously you're putting these principles into practice, so I mean, thumbs up, kudos, virtual pat on the back to you, right? Much respect. What else? Tim's chiming in there saying thank you much, I am flattered. You know what, you should be proud of yourself. Tim's the guy I shared earlier, shared his before and after transformation, his fat loss journey over the last 550 days, which is freaking impressive, right? If there's one thing that gets me excited, it's like seeing transformations like that, like hearing these kind of stories, like people hitting personal bests, getting stronger, gaining muscle, losing fat, like becoming the best version of themselves. That's what I do this for. I mean, like that fires me up more than anything. So again, thanks guys for sharing that. Really appreciate it. Another question we have here from Adil. Do you think as a society we fail people with rising obesity rates despite having more information and accessibility than ever? I don't know if we should blame society on this or blame the individual, because we're all in control over what we do. I know, like, a lot of people like to play the victim card. Oh, it's not my fault, right? It's not my fault that I drink and smoke and I'm overweight, and not my fault that I don't go to the gym. It's not my fault that I ordered that jumbo pizza tonight. It's not my fault, right? Not my fault that I right? It's easy to kind of like try and put the blame on someone else. It's the government's fault. It's the government's fault I'm fat. It's the food company's fault that I'm fat. It's I think we have to man up and take a bit of responsibility for our own actions, because like right now in today's society, we have more stuff available. Like there's more healthy food available than ever before. There's more gyms and fitness information and access to sports and athletics and everything like that than ever before. Nutritional supplements, and even when you're looking at the medication side of things in terms of like hormone replacement therapy, and now we have the even the medications in terms of like these appetite suppressing medications and stuff like that. We've got more stuff available than ever before, yet people are still getting fatter than ever before. So I don't think it's society as a general. I think it's like people have to take their own responsibility. Like just because someone is doing something doesn't mean that you have to do it as well. Like the bar is set pretty darn low, right? And I think if you just try and be better than average, that will move you in the right direction. So, you know, it's a loaded question. I mean, like I can't really I can't really speak on it because it is such a loaded question for sure, right? But I think it really comes down to the individual, right? Not just blanket statement saying, "Oh, it's it's society's fault. It's whoever's fault." I think we have to man up and take our own responsibilities for this. Right? And the crazy thing is the people who do take personal responsibility, who say, you know what, that's it, enough's enough, I'm going to make a change. They make changes. Like, and I've shared results like of people who've taken action like that, like the people I just shared, like Tim, who's watching this show, like 550 days ago, he said, that's it, enough's enough. I'm sick and tired of being fat. I'm going to do something about it. And he made the change. And I mean, his results speak for themselves. Like even with Mark, the guy I mentioned before, who was 886 pounds. Now, don't get me wrong, Mark's still fat, right? And he admits it. Like, I mean, I'm not like people say, oh, you shouldn't call him fat. He's 400 plus pounds. Like, I don't care how you slice it. That's fat. But he's not as fat as he used to be, right? So I mean, he's after losing over 400 pounds, which is freaking remarkable. But again, he's taking action. He's taking action for himself, not just, oh, it's society's fault that I'm fat, or it's the food company's fault, or it's somebody else's fault. No, like he finally, it's like it's my fault, it's my responsibility. If anything's going to change, it's up to me, right? I have to be the one to make the change, not just passing the blame on everybody else. Right. So that's my opinion on it. But again, could society do things differently to help that? Yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because, like I mentioned, we have more stuff available. Like there's every town you go to now, pretty much there's a gym. Unless you're living way out in the boonies somewhere. I mean, for the most part, there's more gyms than ever before. And I'll just use my own hometown as an example. Like when I was a kid growing up and I wanted to work out, there was no gyms in this town. And now uh, I, I can think of like probably about 4 gyms like within my close area that were not there when I was a kid, right? Like I had a home gym. We put a home gym down in our basement, so that's how I started working out. And I worked out in my home gym for 8 years before I ever did join a public gym. But right now we've got, I think, at least 4 or more uh, gyms. Like within a 20-minute drive of my house, I could be at 4 or 5 different gyms that weren't there when I was a kid. So more gyms than ever before. Uh, like nutrition, like every grocery store now got the health food section. Like there's more nutrition awareness than ever before. More tools, more gadgets, more AI, more fitness coaches. Like there's more all this stuff than ever before. But at the same time, we still have on the other side, there's more junk food than ever before. Like I can pick up my phone and I can get DoorDash and skip the dishes, and I can have junk food delivered to me on command with a few taps of the phone. So just like we have more good stuff than ever before, we got more bad stuff than ever before. And it's up to you to decide like what what avenue are you going to choose from? And I think that's where things can get a bit, it muddies the water, so to speak. And obviously, we know the results that most people choose. Most people choose the easy now, like, I don't want to work out. Working out's hard. I don't want to eat healthy. Eating healthy's hard. I just want to have an easy life now. I just want to eat, drink, and be merry. And yeah, you can do that now, and that's very easy to do right now, but then you're going to suffer later, right? Like you're going to have health issues later on. You're going to be overweight later on. And then it's going to be very painful later on. Whereas if you just have the personal initiative to embrace a little bit of discomfort now, it's going to be way easier later on. And that's the way that I've kind of got myself conditioned to think of. I would rather have a little bit of discomfort now and a lot more pleasure and comfort later on versus I'm going to eat and drink and be lazy and I don't care now. So have the easy now and then suffer the health consequences and the pain later. So yeah, I mean, but again, that's we could have that could be a full podcast discussion in and of itself for sure, and it would be a good one, right? And again, I'm not saying that I have the right answer here, but it would be interesting just to hear different people's opinion on that one for sure. I might bring that up in one of our next group coaching calls that I have with my Muscle After 40 students, and who knows, we might even turn that conversation into a future podcast because I would love to hear some different opinions on that topic. All right, let's see what else we got there. Yes, get a doo-dah-dee. Thanks, Lee. I'll watch the video link. I've been struggling with this. All right, good stuff. Glad you check it out after this video chat. And I've got another thanks coming through there as well. Awesome. Well, I think based on what I'm seeing here, that's all the Q&A that came through on my end. And that actually works out really good because here we are. We're well over the hour. I say I'm going to hang out here for the next hour, and I've been yapping on for an hour and 20 minutes. So I'm going to get ready and close this up. But again, thank you so much for joining in. Right. I always appreciate the support, and I appreciate you for sharing your feedback. And again, congrats to everyone who's made impressive transformations. Again, shout out to Tim, right, for sharing his transformation there. Much appreciated. And he shared that over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. And if you would like to join us over there, you can certainly do so. Just do a search on Facebook for Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding, and you'll see the group there, and you can certainly request to join and be part of our Facebook community and keep that conversation going throughout the week. All right, guys, have yourself a fantastic day. Have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to talking to you next Friday. Take care. Over and out.